Today on the Toast on Right podcast, we're going to be discussing the aftermath of Barbenheimer, as well as Netflix removing their ad-free tier, and so much more. So go ahead and feel free to stick around. What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan. Welcome to the Toast on Right podcast, and I have not said that phrase in a long time. Wow, I checked the other day, and cause it's not that like I'm completely dead when like I'm not releasing anything on YouTube. But this channel has not really had any content on it for about a year now. The last thing that I uploaded was me and Bailey's Batman review, as well as some other stuff. Like the last time that this podcast happened was during like the whole Will Smith and Chris Rock slapping thing at the Oscars. That was the last time a podcast was made, and that seems like a millennia ago. Or it seems like a millennia ago. I can't talk to see. It's been so long. I haven't had my practice at talking to a mic yet. No, but yeah, it feels like a millennia ago now. Even though it's only been like over a little bit of a year. So, yeah, it's been a while. Welcome to the show again. And you might be noticing, if you're watching the video version, or at this point, if you're listening, you would have probably heard me introduce somebody else, because at most time, actually all of the time on this podcast, there has always been another guest. But I'm going to switch it up a little bit this time around. In terms of like what the show is going to be moving forward, it's always going to be the same. It's me talking about whatever with somebody else, although at this time there's not going to be somebody else as much. In this life, we're all busy, and I can't really expect everybody to be on this podcast all the time. But hopefully you're down with just hanging out with me for however long this is going to be, maybe 30 minutes, an hour. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, the show's changing like that, so it's just going to be me hanging out with myself and talking to myself for however long. And it's a little weird. Like, honestly, like when you record podcasts with other people, it's so easy to just have a conversation with somebody and record that, because it's just a normal conversation, especially with people like Bailey. If you know, I mean, like if you guys do remember Bailey, he's literally my best friend, my brother, creative partner, everything. So somebody like that is really easy to have a conversation with, because we're into the same things, even if we disagree. We've actually disagreed a lot on this podcast. But it's always a healthy conversation. It's always like a healthy disagreement, or even agreement. There's a lot of times we agree on a lot of different things. But in that situation, it's very easy to have a conversation with people that you know. But I think, at least personally, I think it's very difficult to have a conversation with yourself that's like out loud. I think we all talk to ourselves all the time, but it's mostly in our head. Even if it's like just in the mirror, you're checking yourself out. You're like, ooh. You know what I mean? You look good. But that's in your head. You're talking to yourself in your head. But it's for me, it's really hard to talk to myself out loud. So that's going to take a little bit of practice. But yeah, that's kind of what the podcast is going to be. And in terms of the reason why I've been gone, it's not really that important. It's the same reasons as it's always been when I've taken breaks. It's just life, dude. Yeah, it's just life. I'm still in school. I'm about to head into my third year of university, even though it's only it's my dang, time has flown by. So technically this is my fourth year or fifth year of college. Yeah. But in terms of because I went to a community college. For those of you that don't know, I don't really talk about my schooling a lot, but I went to 2 years of community college, and at the time I was trying to complete this program, and then at the end of the program they told me I could have left the school at any time, which I didn't know. So I would have transferred school sooner, but that's not really important. But yeah, I'm heading into my fifth year of school. And a lot of the time, especially in the last couple of years, school has just really gotten in the way of recording. And it's especially gotten in the way of recording when you're relying on a co-host for the most part. And like this is for anybody. Everybody has their own thing going on, and it's really hard to commit to a podcast, especially when there's two people in it, because then you got to align both of your schedules, and just that's hard. So that's the reason why I took a really long break, was because I started focusing a lot more on school, specifically like like not even just academically, but I did make a short mini series for a TV station at my college state or in my college. We do have a TV station at my college. I will link to it down below if you want to check it out. But I was working on that for a good 4 months. And then when I'm not in school, I'm working. You know, this adult life's hard, dude. This adulting stuff, that's hard. It really is. It really is hard. So that's kind of the reason why there hasn't been a podcast in over a year. And I do see comments too. Like I've seen a couple of you going like, "Where are you? Come back! Like we miss you." And I mean, I appreciate those comments, and you guys watching the podcast and watching my content. You guys are great. Like as an audience, like even if like whether you know me personally or if you found my content somehow, if you've been here for that long, I appreciate those comments. You know, it's great. So yeah, that's kind of the reason why I've been gone. It's not really too important. I didn't want to take too much time on the podcast talking about where I've been, because it's pretty much the same thing, just school, working, just out here living life. But anyway, that's near here or there. I didn't want to take too much time on the podcast talking about that. But let's go ahead and move on into the entertainment news I'm gonna talk about today. So what's going on right now? This is as of I want to say last Wednesday, I think. This like I'm recording this like the next week after, but so like this was like a few days ago for me as of recording this. But Netflix has just announced this past like Wednesday, I think, that they are taking away their basic plan tier for their subscription. So if you don't really know what that looks like, if you use Netflix and you don't really pay attention to what the tiers are, especially for me, I actually have Netflix for free through like my phone plan or whatever. T-Mobile is clutch for that situation. I think like when me and my family, we switched over to T-Mobile, like, because we used to be with Verizon and then we went to T-Mobile. We wanted new phones, but also that was the big plus, is that we would get Netflix for free. So I know that people like my parents won't really care because they got it for free anyway. But how it was before is the basic plan was $9.99 and you were paying for 720p HD, plus all of the other tiers have the same thing. You can get, like, you can watch on your laptop, TV, phone, tablet, like whatever. And then you can also really like easily change it or cancel it. Like there was no commitment, just like most, actually all subscriptions are nowadays, at least for streaming. And then you can also download it at the basic tier too. So basically before, like even with like the higher tiers, so like with standard, it was $15.49. And the only difference, you got everything else except 1088 or like 1080p HD. And then the premium was $20 a month, and then you'll be able to stream in 4K. Now, for me, I like, as a consumer of Netflix, okay, I didn't really care which plan I had. Like for the most part, even if like we got it for free back when we were paying for Netflix, $9.99 for literally everything on Netflix. All you're really paying for is just resolution. I'll watch something in 720p. Like, I'm spoiled by HD, but not that spoiled, right? Like, I remember back in the day, like back when I watched like TV, like broadcast TV full time, back when I was watching Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, PBS Kids, like all of that stuff, like on live television, right? I noticed like the switch between like SD, like standard definition, and then HD, like high definition, like just like that. And like each, like every channel, like I can't remember what year was it, but I remember I was like younger. Every like TV station had like the SD channel version of it, and then if you added just one, like the number one to whatever channel number it was, I had AT&T U-verse for context. So like for example, Disney Channel was on 302. If I wanted HD, it'd be 1302. So and I don't know if that's still a thing now. I wouldn't be able to tell you, because I don't really watch like live television anymore. But I remember it just being like the change was like that, and I got spoiled by 1302, like the HD of that. But now that I've been so used to HD, pretty much as long as I can see, it should be fine. especially if the thing is cinematic. Like they're shooting on cameras beyond what I could, like what anybody could afford. So 4K is going to look fine on a lower tier. But the thing is too, like if you're paying for premium, like I don't know anybody that's paying for premium. If you pay for premium Netflix, let me know in the comments. Do you actually watch anything in 4K? Like at all? I don't think I've ever watched anything in 4K. I haven't had the need to, or really the opportunity to. Like I don't really know a lot of people um that can watch something in 4K. And hell, like even with like 1080p, like that's still like great, like that's standard. But at the same time, would you really pay almost $16 for that when you could just get the $10 tier and still be able to watch something clearly and just fine? Let me know in the comments which one you used to pay for. But now with this change, the basic tier is completely gone. Like the one that I just said, where it was just $10 a month, 720 HD, with all of the tiers of, like, you know, watching on whatever device, easy to cancel, and all the downloads and stuff. That's completely gone. Now it's been bumped down to $7. You still get the same resolution of 720 HD, but now you can't download shows. You can still watch on whatever, and it's easy to cancel. But now you have ads. And there's a lot of people really up in arms in this. But to explain in more detail, this is according to the Hollywood Reporter. Netflix has removed its $9.99 advertising free basic plan in the US and the UK, which is a move that would push new subscribers sign up for lucrative subscription options for the streaming giant. That's according to the Hollywood Reporter. I'm reading directly from this. But a visit to Netflix's sign-up page Wednesday morning showed only 3 options for new subscribers. It's $6.99 standard with ads tier, $15.49 standard plan, and $19.99 premium ad plan, just like what I just discussed before. But in a frequently asked question on its sign-up page, the company wrote that the basic plan is no longer available for new or rejoining members. If you are currently on the basic plan, you can if you are currently on the basic plan, you can remain on this plan until you change plans or cancel your account. So basically, if you currently already have it, you are not going to get ads until you cancel it. We don't know if that's going to change in the future, or like if they're only going to have this for, like, let's say like 6 months after you have it. But after that, we don't really know what's going to go on. But with that being said, with all of that, I've seen a lot of people, especially on Twitter, because, you know, if you want to find any public opinion on really anything like mainstream, go to Twitter. There are plenty of accounts like Pop Crave and other things like that that would kind of give you a general consensus of what the public thinks about whatever, right? And I saw a lot of people up in arms about this. They're like, oh, this is another L for Netflix, as if they didn't have enough L's already. And normally, I'm on that side. Netflix has been taking a lot of L's recently, both in content and in general what they're trying to offer. Like back when they were taking away the whole password sharing thing. Personally, I don't pay for Netflix, and my family doesn't pay for Netflix because we have it for free. But if we were paying for it, honestly, I would get rid of it. But there is not really anything on Netflix other than things like Stranger Things or like some of their bigger flagship shows that are worth watching, in my opinion. Because everything that's come out in the last few years, it's almost like they're not insulting our intelligence. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, they just assume that we'll just watch anything. Like, it doesn't matter. Like I will admit, there are people that are interested in everything. Everyone is interested in everything. Someone is going to like something when it comes to making anything. But at the same time, I think for somebody with as big of an audience as Netflix, when they make something, I feel like they should, you know, at least pay attention to what their audience is watching. And I think Netflix is in this attitude of, well, hey, we have so many subscribers. It's not like they're going to leave. Let's just make whatever we want and not pay attention to the quality or anything like that. And I think they're starting to learn that just because you put out something on Netflix, like, and it's just Netflix branded, does not mean that it's quality and we're going to think it's good, right? And I feel like a lot of companies are kind of falling into that right now, but especially with Netflix, right? So Netflix isn't really putting a lot of effort into their content anymore. But in terms of the ad stuff, this does not shock me. Like it doesn't upset me, right? Like because like I said before, Netflix, I have agreed that Netflix has taken a lot of L's lately, but in terms of this, I think this is a solid move, right? What like here, think about ooh, that was a voice crack by the way. So when you think about what other streaming platforms are doing right now, right? Look at Paramount Plus, Peacock, Hulu, even like Hulu has been doing like the basic tier with ads thing for as long as it's existed. But when you look at their competitors, they have ads, like they have ad tiers as well. Like for example, I'm a user of Peacock. Granted, like this is something that a lot of you don't know about me, even like people in my personal life. Like I barely have like really talked about this. But I'm a wrestling fan. I love WWE, AEW, like pro wrestling. I've been into it since I was a kid, on and off. Like, there was a point where like I was in a phase where I was like, like WWE, that's lame. Like I missed the era when I thought it was real. And you know what? This is an off-topic thing. Wrestling is real to a certain extent. Like it is basically just planned choreography. Like I like to call it redneck theater, essentially. Like some of those motherfuckers are acting their asses off, dude. Some of these, like, dude, like some of these men are crying in the ring, dude. That's theater. It's like a mix of sport and theater, and I love it, right? But that's not the point. The reason why that I pay for Peacock is because now WWE, they don't call their pay-per-views anymore. They call them premium live events. We all still call them pay-per-views, by the way. That's not changing. But all of their pay-per-views are on Peacock. Because they used to have this thing called WWE Network, where you can watch pretty much every Raw, SmackDown, NXT, like all of their free television, as well as all of their old pay-per-views. I'm talking like WrestleMania, like in the golden era, like when Hulk Hogan was still going. You can watch pretty much any pay-per-view they've ever had, and that was WWE Network. But the problem with WWE Network was that it was really hard to justify that subscription to their streaming service when all I'm getting is just WWE content. And especially when you're watching weekly wrestling television, if you already watched it on TV, what was the point of watching it on the WWE Network? You know, like if you missed Raw or SmackDown, then it made sense. Like if you know that you're not going to be able to watch it live, that's what WWE Network was for. But they were charging $10 a month still. Granted, it was a lot of content, but in terms of the logistics of it, you're probably only going to watch something twice a month, or like if you like, let's assume that you watch Raw and SmackDown live every week, you didn't miss it. Essentially, you're really only going to watch things once a month, and that's what that month's pay-per-view is, or even once every couple of months. So it was very hard to justify it, and most people got rid of it, and it failed. So to combat that, what WWE did was they partnered with Peacock. So now all of their pay-per-views, including the past ones, that's on Peacock. So like they have a WWE section. I might screenshot it and put it on screen for the video version. That's what WWE Network is now. So that's what I pay for. That's why I pay Peacock, or like that's why I pay for Peacock. But I have the ad like tier list because first of all, it's only $6, and as a broke college kid, that's a steal. Like it's the same with Spotify, like the student version of Spotify, also including Hulu for the price of $5. Well, it actually just went up to 6, but still, like to get Hulu and Spotify Premium, like and in the same tier for $6 a month, yeah, I'm taking that. I'm taking that shit. Like I just am, you know. So in terms of that, like I don't mind having ads because it's just like watching TV. Like back when I watched TV, like exclusively, even as a kid, ads to me were kind of whatever. Granted, side story, y'all remember Fushigi? That bullshit. I somehow convinced my parents to buy me that. Like these commercials were working, I guess, because I convinced my poor parents, like not financially poor, like wow, I really convinced them to buy Fushigi. That bullshit. That did not work at all. But those commercials made me want to get it. So for me, I didn't mind commercials because it was like 5 minutes. The only thing that would piss me off is if I'm watching my SpongeBob marathon and then iCarly came on. I was a little bit too young to appreciate iCarly for a little bit there. That was the only reason why I was pissed off, because like something got interrupted, but it was not because of the ads. So I've never had an issue with ads at all. And when it comes to like what the competitors are doing with Paramount, I think Paramount, it has the most egregious offense, because like, for example, if I wanted to watch Wild 'N Out, or if I wanted to watch what's that show? It's Whose Line Is It Anyway? Which is basically just white people wilding out, is what I say. I said that on TikTok when somebody was like, "Why are you kind of right?" Nah, but like both of those shows are good. But but like, let's say I watched that. What Paramount does, and like they're the most egregious offense of it, what they do is they basically fill the time, like the ad time that would have been on live TV. At least last time I watched it. Like as long as ads are less than 2 minutes, like total of ads, I don't mind, right? Like Paramount, or sorry, not Paramount, Peacock, most of their ads is going to be, has never been longer than 2 minutes. For Hulu, their ads have never been longer than 2 minutes. With Paramount, on the other hand, they're the most egregious ones. I would not pay for the ad tier because it's like 4 minutes of ads. Like 4 minutes. 4 minutes or like 3 minutes. And I'm like, see, that's where we're getting the real TV. And now we're redefining what TV is now. So a lot of these streaming services are like, well, it's basically just TV anyway. Let's just put ads on it. Or if you don't want ads, just pay more for it. That's exactly what Netflix is doing. So I'm like, I don't have a problem with that. What I would have a problem with is it depends on where the ads are going to be, right? So for example, if I'm watching a show and like if the show was previously on TV and then like, so like, it's like, for example, how like New Girl, for example, for any New Girl fans out there, love that show. But if you watched that before there were ads on Netflix, you would see like that it would cut to black, because that's when the ads would come on live TV, right? But then if you're on a streaming service, it would just cut to black and then come back as if nothing ever happened, and you got used to that, right? But if you're watching a show, that's probably where an ad would go. Ooh, that was a bar. I just rhymed. Anyway, if that was where like the show went in terms of like where to show the ads, I wouldn't mind that. As long as it's like less than 2 minutes, I wouldn't mind that, because it's a show, right? Like we have been trained to know that shows are going to have ads because they need to make money. It makes sense, right? Where I would have a problem with it is if it was in movies, right? Again, if it was a movie that came from TV, like TV movies, I wouldn't mind that, because it makes sense. They worked it into the movie anyway. But if I get an ad, like a 2-minute ad, when shit's just about to get real in whatever movie I'm watching, that's what would piss me off, because it would take me out of the movie. So I wouldn't mind there being an ad being shown like at the beginning of the movie and then at the end or something. Or like if you work, like let's say there's a movie that's made for Netflix. If they work it in, like if they like have like the first act play, and then like once some shit happens, it's like let's say this is like a Walking Dead movie. It'd be like, hey guys, guess what? We need something, but it's all the way over there. Well, don't tell me where the zombies are. Yeah. And then phase to black, bam, we have an ad there. That would make more sense. Like where they actually work it in when they edit it. But if we're just sitting here and I'm watching a movie and you just throw that shit in there, like there's like, oh my god, he just died, introducing Huggies. Like I'd be fucking pissed off, like, because it's like you're taking me out of the movie, right? So overall, this doesn't shock me or upset me at all. This is just another avenue to make money, and especially with what's going on with the strike right now, and just in general of like where the entertainment or the entertainment industry economy is going. I don't blame them for trying to make as much money as they can, especially since something like Netflix is very expensive to keep up. Like think about like with like a video game, for example. I play Valorant. If you watch my Twitch streams, you know that I play Valorant like a lot. And this goes with any free to play game too. Like I'm talking like Valorant, Apex Legends, Overwatch 2, like even Fortnite. Like when it comes to free to play games, those are very expensive to keep running, which is why you pay for stuff like skins or like in Fortnite's case, subscriptions, battle passes, um like that, like those are ways to make money. And that's a whole separate podcast on like what Valorant could do to make more money. But essentially those are very expensive things to keep running. It's the same thing with Netflix and every other streaming service. It's like to keep that domain up, it's very expensive. So I understand that they're trying to make money in places that as much as they can. So yeah, as long as Netflix does ads correctly, I don't really see a problem with it. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think, uh like how do you feel about Netflix having ads? Do you think this is going to kill Netflix? Are you kind of on my boat where it's like, well, every other app is doing this except Disney Plus, which at this point, if Disney Plus did it, I would not be shocked. Um, so just let me know in the comments down below what you think. I'll have something on Spotify as well. Sorry for anybody else that listens to on anything else. I don't think they've implemented comments yet, but at least with Spotify, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. On YouTube, let me know what you thought in the comments. All right, and now let's go ahead and move on to the aftermath of Barbenheimer. If you were like me this past weekend, I double featured Barbenheimer, both Barbie and Oppenheimer. I should tell my mom about this. And with me and my mom, shout out to my mom if you're watching or listening to this. My mom is not necessarily like the biggest movie person or like TV show person. She likes what she likes, and if like she might watch it, she might not. And I was talking to her about Oppenheimer and Barbie, and she was like, "Well, for me, I don't blame her for not knowing who Oppenheimer is. I didn't even know who Oppenheimer was until a few years ago when Epic Rap Battles did a battle about it. That's like that rap battle made me like research on who J. Robert Oppenheimer is, but I'm not shocked she doesn't know who that is. But in terms of Barbie, I thought she would have loved to go see Barbie, and she was like, I don't even think she watched the trailer, or if she did, she didn't think it was gonna be all that. You know what I mean? And for her, she just watches movies because like we're watching a movie, or like she'll watch stuff that she likes. But I told her like I'm double featuring this thing. I mean, like if you watch the trailer, like what made me want to go see Barbie immediately was the fact that like when she was walking and the camera was following her feet, and she's walking in heels. But the thing about Barbie is that she always has pointed toes because with the doll, she had to put on shoes like different types of shoes. I never owned Barbie personally. I know like my sister, when I was hanging out with her for a little while, she had Barbie, but I don't really remember like if like shoes came separately or if outfits came separately. I'm sure they did because capitalism. But the detail of her stepping out of the heels for her toes to still be pointed, I'm like, that is such a fantastic detail. And then I watched the rest of the trailer, and it's the costume design, the music. Like, say what you want about the movie, like the movie could have been dog shit, but at least it looked fucking amazing. Like in terms of like what the set was and the costumes and the theme of it, of what Barbie means. And this is the same way of how I feel about Oppenheimer. When I saw the Oppenheimer trailer, I'm like, dude, I know that I'm going to get a fantastic performance from everybody in it. I'm going to get costume design. And then when I heard that like all of the explosions in the movie weren't even like CGI, it was real, I'm like, yeah, I gotta go see this thing. Like for both Oppenheimer and Barbie, these are movies where if you are a movie lover, you have to go see it, right? Um, but after watching it, I watched both, and I have my thoughts and opinions on it. And I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions on it are in the comments down below. Let me know as I'm talking, but and also let me know if you agree or disagree with the point too. So to start off, Barbie and Oppenheimer both made $300 million plus in the box office this past weekend, which is the fourth biggest ever. Which I think, like, there are some people that are saying this is the end of endless sequels. No, I don't think so. Like, I think we're speaking a little bit too soon. Like, yeah, Barbie and Oppenheimer, they were fantastic movies, and they did fantastic in the box office. I think more Barbie than Oppenheimer. which I'll get into in a bit, but I don't think it's the end of that. I mean, think about where we are in movies in general. Like the big Hollywood studio execs just think that original ideas aren't a thing anymore, and they're like they just want to see shit they've already seen, but like more. And to a certain extent, they're right, but they're also wrong. And that's where like us as a society, if we want to stop seeing like anything sequel ever, if it's not warranted, especially, then we need to stop seeing the movie. Like, stop going to watch it in the theater then. Like, yeah, hate watching is a thing. Don't get me wrong. I went to go see The Flash because I knew it was going to be terrible, but I wanted to see how bad, which that's a whole other podcast. But even then, like, I'm saying, like, I need to stop doing that. Like, I need to wait till that shit comes out on whatever streaming service it's going to be, or just not watch it. If you know that you're not going to enjoy it, then don't watch it, right? But we continuously go and buy tickets for it, and then the studio execs are like, "Oh shit, they're still seeing it anyway. Let's do it again. Let's stop doing that." Like, I don't have like I'm not that big of an audience. I know that I'm just a guy talking into a microphone, but let's stop doing that. Please stop doing it. But I don't think it's the end of it just yet. Let's wait for other things to come out first, and then we'll see how that goes. But in terms of Barbie, that made $162 million, which, if I'm correct, let me see what the budget is real quick. Barbie box off or Barbie budget, that was 145 million. In terms of what their budget was, and they just made 162 million back and still counting. Like, that's just based off of this weekend alone. That's insane. Like, the fact that it's already a hit, and it was that expensive to make too. Like, I mean, and I'm not even shocked it was that expensive to make. If you've seen the movie, look at it. Like, dude, like, there's so much to pay for in that thing to make it look authentic, to make Barbie Land look authentic and real. Yeah, I'm not shocked that it costed that much, right? So the fact that, like, it's kind of making back what it spent, good for them. In terms of Oppenheimer, though, that costed $100 million to make, and it's only making 82 million back, and that's not even counting worldwide. We're not saying it's a flop. That is still fantastic. Let's give it a couple of more weeks, because there are some people that didn't double feature Barbenheimer at all. I did, because this is a cinematic event. I said that shit from the get-go. And like it was to the point that, like, even like Bailey, he took off of work for it. Like, he knew, he was like, hey, like, he's like, whatever job I get, that I'm requesting that day off. Like, I'm requesting that day off because this is a event. I also took my friend Don, shout out to Don when he's listening to this. And he was like, yeah, that shit was fantastic too. Like, but I think I'm very curious to see what the numbers would have been if Oppenheimer landed on a different weekend. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved the memes of Barbenheimer and, like, the fact that, like, two distinctly different movies are coming out at the same time, and we're all like, fuck yeah, we're seeing this shit. I think that's funny. Excuse me. Excuse me, heavens. But I'm curious to see what it would have been if they were on different weekends, because I feel like a movie like Oppenheimer, it didn't have as big of it like of a cultural phenomena audience, but the audience was movie lovers. I mean, like, when we're talking about Oppenheimer, for example, right? If you watch the movie, right, people like Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr. almost stole the show. Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, they like, and everybody else, they did their fucking thing. They performed their ass off. And I will say, when I first saw Robert Downey Jr. in this movie, when he was talking to Cillian Murphy's character, like Oppenheimer, I'm not gonna lie, I saw nothing but Tony Stark. I hate being that guy. But, like, even when he, like, the way that he said a couple of things, I'm like, damn, his Tony came out. There's something about ex-Marvel stars like Robert Downey Jr. and not Steve Evans, Chris Evans, going from being the hero to the villain in other movies. I mean, we saw it in Knives Out. We saw it in And now we saw it in Oppenheimer. I'm not gonna. I'll try not to spoil the movie as much as possible because this is coming out so soon. After the after the release of it. But the thing that I loved about this movie so much was that Christopher Nolan, bro, he came to fucking play when it came to writing this script, dude. Like, even if the character was in it for 30 seconds, like, Josh Peck is in this movie. Didn't even know he was in this movie till he showed up. Even him saying understood and some other, I can't remember what he said because it's been so long, but him saying the line understood still had so much power behind it. Every part, like there was not a single wasted minute of screen. Actually, I'll get into that. But in terms of dialogue, there was not a single wasted piece of screen time in terms of dialogue ever. Everybody had something to say. Everybody had something important to say. It did not waste a single minute to say what it wanted to say. Especially with the lines that Emily Blunt had for her character. She was spitting bars. I don't want to spoil what she said, but she was spitting some bars. And Christopher Nolan, dude, you're never going to watch this at all. But fantastic writing. Fantastic writing. You fucking did amazing, dude. But yeah, this movie surpassed all my expectations of what it was going to be. Like, it's not your typical biopic. Especially when it comes to like historical like biopics. Like, I can like compare this to a certain extent of like The Social Network, right? But the difference is that we are trying to humanize Oppenheimer to a certain extent. Like, he's not a good person. He's not a good person at all. But it's highlighting what the human experience is. Like, this is a negative side of the human experience of how one person can have such a catastrophic impact. And we see this in The Social Network too, but we're not humanizing Mark Zuckerberg at all. At least I haven't seen a majority of the movie. From what I've seen, we're not at all. But yeah, Christopher Nolan was cooking with the screenwriting. Not a single moment of dialogue was wasted. And also the cinematography was on another level. If you watch this movie and you watch the trailer, right? I know that like me and Bailey were talking about this once. He was like, he thought that most of the movie was going to be in black and white, and it wasn't. And I liked that. But when you watch Nolan movies, right? Like if you watch Tenet, for example, you'll know that Christopher Nolan likes to tell a story backwards almost. So pretty much anything that was in the past is in black and white, and anything that is like in current, like of like where we're at in the current timeline of like us not trying to like, you know, speed towards the ending or like that type of thing, it's in color. But it also has a double purpose because we're humanizing Oppenheimer in color, and then Robert Downey Jr.'s character we're actually not supposed to empathize with him, which is why he's in black and white for most of the movie. And you'll see why. But for anyone that hasn't watched it yet, and you see a lot of things in black and white and then in color, that's the reason why. It's because what's in color is in real time, and what's not in color is stuff that we'll catch up to. But the only critique I have with Oppenheimer, it's a very fucking long movie. Like, it's so long. But the thing is, I've said this for plenty of different movies. Like, I'd rather have an extremely long movie, but it was really good, than a movie that should have been longer. If that makes sense. Like, for example, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness should have been longer. Like, we know that they've cut 40 minutes from that movie, and it's like, I think they should have known their audience at this point. Yes, we have short attention spans on social media, but when it comes to things that we paid to see on the big screen, we're gonna watch that shit. Like, we paid for it. So I'd rather have a 3-hour movie that was really good than like a 2.5-hour movie or like a 2-hour movie or like a movie that was shaved down to 2 hours and it needed to be longer. But with that being said, the movie was a little like they could have shaved 20 minutes off of it a little bit, like in terms of like where the movie went, like without spoiling it too much. After we kind of like get the origin of what the atom bomb is, we start to kind of study Oppenheimer as a character in the aftermath of the atom bomb, and there were some things in there where it's like, one, some of the black and white and the color stuff kind of got a little bit of like jarring. Like, if we're catching up in real time, the cinematographer and me and the editor and me is like, dude, that shit should have faded from black and white to color, to signify that this is happening in real time now. That was my first complaint. And then secondly, yeah, there's just certain parts of the story where I would have much rather them study the aftermath rather than kind of anything else. Like, this is me trying not to spoil it. Like, I want you to enjoy the movie for what it is. It's one thing if I was talking about this months later, then I'd spoil it to talk it in detail. But if you haven't seen it yet at the release of this podcast, go see it. But I would have much rather them focus on the aftermath and then shave some of the 20 minutes off from the extra stuff. But it was still really good. Like, all of the performances were captivating. It's just I just started to get taken out of it just because certain things are just being dragged on really long for no reason. But either way, if you're a movie lover, go watch Oppenheimer. That is what filmmaking is about. Cinematography, characters, actors performing their asses off. Just in general, just an overall fantastic movie. Another thing I will say, Christopher Nolan, love you to death, dude. Work on your sound mixing, man. Like, the fact, like, dude, the score of this movie was insane, but like it sounded amazing. But when I have to like when I need subtitles to hear what your characters are saying because the music is too loud, bro, that's a problem. That's my only thing. But everything else was fantastic. All right, let's get into Barbie now, and then I'll probably wrap up this podcast. This is kind of getting longer than I thought. You you remember like when I said that like I thought it was gonna be hard to talk to myself? Yeah, I lied, I guess. Anyway, excuse me, heavens. This is for Barbie. This is another movie that I was not expecting to be so goofy and comical, yet so serious at the same time. Like, my friend Don, who I watched it with, along with Bailey, and also my friend Jacob. Shout out to Jacob if you're listening. We all agreed that that was an acid trip of a movie. Like, if you've ever seen Dora and the Lost City of Gold, right? That is what Barbie, or no, like that is what that movie, like Barbie is what Dora and the Lost City of Gold could have been had it like didn't tell you to take itself seriously from the get-go. Like, when you watch the trailers, like they paint it as just, oh, it's a Barbie movie in real life. And then you watch it and you're like, oh shit, no, this is more than it actually is. That's what Dora and the Lost City of Gold could have been. And that movie was also an acid trip if you've seen it. Especially in certain scenes where where it went from live action to animated for no reason. Yeah. But it's an acid trip that somehow makes you think critically about what the human experience is, especially for women, right? Because it's similar to the theme of Into and Across the Spider-Verse, that anyone can be Spider-Man, right? Like Miles Morales, yeah, he's Afro Latino, right? But he can still be Spider-Man. It's not just Peter Parker. It does not matter if you're white, black, a woman, a man, any gender on the spectrum. It does not matter. You can be Spider whoever, right? If a pig can be Spider-Man, anybody can be Spider-Man, and that's the theme of that. This is the same with Barbie, that anybody can be Barbie, anybody can be Ken, especially on the Barbie spectrum of how women have always been told that they are nothing more than just a mother, and before that they are a mother, they have to be told, or not even have to. People constantly tell them what a woman should be all the time. From all the men around them, right? So when you look at this movie and say that anybody can be Barbie, it does not matter. A Barbie can be president. A Barbie can be a flight attendant. A Barbie can be a mother. A Barbie cannot be a mother. A Barbie can be whatever it wants to be. She can be whatever she wants to be, and that's the theme of the movie. But at the same time, like, I've seen people, and by people I mean men, right? Because I'm a man myself, right? But I watched this movie and got that out of it, right? And the movie, like,
it did preach about what it means to be a woman in society, and but it was rightfully like talked about, right? Like a character in the movie, without spoiling it too much, she kind of vents to other Barbies about what it means to be a woman in general, right? And I like, don't get me wrong, there were more women in that theater than were men. Like we were dressed up for both Oppenheimer and Barbie, and I think we got a couple of looks, but I'm like, I can't dress up for Barbie, bro. Like, you're wearing all pink. Why can't I be in a suit and tie? The only thing is, I wish I had more pink. Like, I would have dressed up in a pink suit if I could have. I just don't own that, unfortunately. So why are you staring at me? But that's not the point. A lot of women in there basically snapped like it was poetry because girl was spitting bars. Again, I'm not a woman. I have not experienced what women go through in terms of like societal things. But even I'm like, nah, that's facts, man. You're kind of spitting, like based off of talking to other women, or like other women in my life, especially my mother and my friends and stuff like that. If you empathize and you listen, that shit's accurate. Like as a man, men are privileged because we live in a patriarchal society. So if you watch this movie, like if you're a man and you watch this movie and you said that it was woke, it was pushing in a agenda, it was shoving being gay down your throat, you didn't watch the movie at all. Anybody can watch this movie, but a lot of people are saying that like this movie was always for the girls and the gays. That's what people on Twitter said. And I'm like, yeah, I mean to a certain extent, yeah. But I think anybody can watch this movie. And if I can watch this movie and go like, yeah, no, that like if I can watch this movie and not feel attacked as a man, then you got a problem. Go watch the movie again, and actually turn your brain on this time. Like critically think this time when you watch the movie, and then realize the world that we actually live in, and then come back and tell me how you think. So overall, Barbie and Oppenheimer, they were fucking fantastic. Loved them, especially Barbie. Like I know, like some of my female friends, especially they've said that they cried during it, and I'm like, see, I can't say I cried because like I thought it was a great movie in general. But I don't deal with that same thing, right? Um, like that's why what's the word I'm looking for? Representation. That's why that's so important. It's so important to see yourself up on that big screen. It doesn't matter like if you're white, black, or a woman, or of any color, it does not matter. Like any gender, it doesn't matter. Like people like need to see themselves in media. They just need to. And the fact that so many women have felt like they've been seen, that they've been heard, like that's what this is about. That's what Barbie is about. And I'm just glad that so many people are seeing this and getting what the message is. Especially like I've seen like a lot of men, especially the men that I surround myself with, getting with the fucking program. They get it. They understand what this movie was trying to tell you. And if you understand what this movie is trying to tell you, then that's when you go out into the world and be a better ally. Do more things. I'm not saying like you gotta like be Superman and save everybody. That's not what I'm saying. But at least acknowledge where your privilege as a men or as men are. Wait, sentences. I can't talk today. Acknowledge what your privilege as a man is. Anyway, that wraps up this podcast. Overall, Netflix, Barbie, Oppenheimer, all that stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For both Spotify and YouTube. And of course, that's just my opinion. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And yeah, that's pretty much it. First podcast back. It feels great. um, it's not gonna look like this in the video forever. I'm just currently at home, but I'm sure I'll figure some cool thing out to do when I'm back up in school. For the look. But if you enjoyed the podcast, leave a like on YouTube, subscribe for more. This is not gonna be the last you'll see of me. And on Spotify, follow, rate the podcast however you want. And if you hated it, give it a big thumbs down. Tell me why. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will see you guys in the next episode.